Hi everyone. So we are back here with the Qlik Right Back, the native Qlik Right Back. And this time I'll use the application that I have created in the previous video and actually implement a permanent way to store the data over 90 days. I know just showing how we can handle that data in the previous video, some people can implement their own ways to store the data. But for those that still have hard time to do, like an incremental load technique to store the data, for example, in a QVD file, I will show in this video how we can do that. So, all right, I will start with the application the way I have left it in the previous video. And let's do a small recap of what we did. So here I can change some nodes. I can change the records. And then when I save or when I reload this application, let me click save first. So this is saving the data in this Qlik store, but it's just there. So this data will be there, save it for about 90, not about, for 90 days, okay? So now we implement a technique here where when we reload the application, we will capture this data from during the reload process and display here. So in the code that I have previously, I have the original data coming from a Postgres database, and then we capture the changed data using the Qlik REST connection. So this takes the if you miss that or you don't remember, check the previous video. So it'll be showing right here which video I'm talking about. So then we create the REST connection, we capture the data, we display the data for the end user, and then we just store the data in a QVD file. So I did some recommendations in the previous video. So now we're going to implement in this video. So if I reload the application, this is what's going to happen. This will refresh the film data from using the Postgres SQL database. We'll capture the recent change that we just did it, and then I'll store in a QVD file. Okay. All right. So it's if I go back here, I should see the columns as we have here. So they should match because this is just a representation of this data. Okay. So now, all right. If we go over 90 days, we may not see some of these changes because you get lost. So how I can so our code here is not storing that data over 90 days. So we are taking the data from the REST API and just replacing the QVD data with the data from the REST API. So if it gets deleted or in the past 90 days, this will be reflected in the QVD file. So the QVD file here is just another way to show the data from the change stores. So, but we are going to make this different now. So we're going to add some incremental load techniques to make this permanent. And we'll be doing two things here. First, I will just do the incremental load part. And so let's start. So every time, so when I do incremental loads, the very first thing I do is to check if the QVD file exists, all right? So if the QVD file exists, then we can load the historical data. If not, we just store the data as it is, all right? So we have here the current data, okay? The data from the change store. Then we just drop this. Then we have to load the historical data, but from the QVD file. So the QVD file will hold permanently the data, even over 90 days. But first I will check if the QVD is here or not. So for that, there are different techniques, but I like this one. It's called if QVD creates time. Okay, so you can use that. Then you pass the QVD file name. Okay. So if the QVD does not exist, the QVD creates time will return null. So then we check if it's null or not. So if this not is null, okay, so I'm just checking that. Then, so that means the QVD exists. And if, then I will load the QVD file. All right. So copy this here. Then I'll do load star from QVD. All right. And then I'll use the same name of the table. Okay. We don't need to add concatenate here. It's not required because the QVDs have the same name. The tables have the same name, semicolon. So Qlik will auto concatenate this. But if you need to make it clear, if you want to tell to the other developers and users that you are aware about you're doing a concatenation, you can specify, you can put the keyword concatenate. So it's just to make it clear your intention about concatenation, okay? And there's one thing here that I usually don't like. You see I have this file here repeated 3 times. So if you change the file, you have to change 3 times. So I don't like that. So let's go here and let's replace this with a variable. So add here the string that I'm looking for, and then I'll call this v historical film QVD file. All right. I hope I'm not doing any mistake. Okay. So I hit, sorry. Control Z. I need to add this because this will be a variable. And then I will copy this, actually just this part, and I'll set here right on the beginning, okay? Set v historical film QVD file, copy this, and boom, right here. So then I don't need to keep changing it all the time, okay? And all right, and okay, but we're missing a lot of stuff here, all right? So we are loading the historical data, but if I have a recent data to the same record, we are going to have 2 records of the changed data, but we just want to keep the most recent one. So then we need to work with the key field, and the key field here is is this one. So this is my primary key. Okay, so this field must be unique. All right, so you cannot have this field value showing up multiple times in my data. Okay, so I would just add some notes here, like this is the current changed data. Okay, and this is the historical changed data. So if the same ID that I'm changing here exists here already, I don't want to bring this key again. So I'm just going to delete it. So how we do that? So we use the not exist. So we need a where clause here. It's very fundamental to incremental load. So we are loading all the historical records where not exists that key field. So I'm making sure I'm loading every single record, but not the ones that are coming from this this data set here. But this may create a problem during the flow of this script, because the film ID was previously loaded also here. So then if we add here the where not exists, that means you're not bringing even the current data loaded here. So this is a problem. So then what I'm going to do here, I will rename this field, to add a special, like as, I will call it film ID permanent. Okay, because otherwise this will get in conflict with this film ID right here. If I have this as a completely separate applications, like this would be something aside of the flow of this structure, then you don't need to worry about that, because the film ID will exist only in the context of this specific code that you're seeing here. But because we are going to merge these two things, I need to rename it. So, and because I have renamed it, I cannot use the historical data anymore. So then I have to come here and just delete my historical data. So we are kind of starting over. So I will clean this. Okay. So then I'm making sure my field name will be film ID permanent. And let me add some more traces so it help us to see what's going on. So then every time I go inside here, I will add a trace just to show loading, historical, QVD, film, historical chains of the film, film table. Okay. Loading historical chains of the film table. Okay, that sounds right. All right. And then we store trace store chains film table. All right. And this will be loading current chains of the film table. All right, so let's review. I have variable to my permanent QVD file, right, where I store the chains over 90 days. Then I load the current chains, okay, the chains that we made here in the UI. So wherever you make the chains, you click save. When we reload the application, we're going to connect to our REST API, load the chains we just, all the chains that we did in the past 90 days, okay? By the way, we can add where clauses here to get only the recent chains, so you don't need to load the whole 90-day sets. But since it's a small amount of records, it's okay here. So I change the key field so I don't have conflict with the key field in my main dashboard data. And then finally, I check if I have data created already. If I have, I load all the historical records except the film IDs. Oh, I found a problem. Except the data that already is new, is like the modified or new records. Okay. And finally, we store the data as a QVD file. And just to make the complete cycle, this will look like this. Then we will do a drop table, film QVD, and further in the code, I can just load that data back. So I can copy something like this. I will call this incremental load film right back. And then I'll do one section just to load film right back. So this will be something like this, but then I will copy this, okay? And I'll do from, always use square brackets, and we're just loading everything, okay? All right, so, and this, I will do the reverse. So copy this as film ID. So then we can link back our chains with the dashboard data. Okay, so we can test here and see how it goes. All right, is everything good? Let's reload and hope for the best. So now you're connecting to the database, getting the data from Postgres, loading the current chains. That's why it's nice to add traces so you know what the code is doing. So we connect to the REST API, get the chains. So it's saying 6 records. If I look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that looks right. We store the chains. You see there is nothing about incremental load. And then finally we load the data from the QVD file. So the QVD file was created. Okay, so if I check my data here, I should see the film QVD, okay? So it has 6 records. If I look my data model viewer, I can see the film here. It's linked properly with this. So if I click here, this should be 100%. Here, the density subsector is just a few records. That's fine. And the field must be unique. Yes, so no duplicates. So everything looks good. All right. Now, what if we do new chains? Okay, so then I'll go here and say no, test and test 2. Okay, so then I'll hit save. Now, remember my historical QVD file, it has 6 rows. Now, what I'm expecting, if I do a new change, because these IDs are already in the database, those 6 first IDs, they will not be included back. So they work just with the 7 and the 8. So you should see extra 2 columns in this table. Okay, so if I go here, because the film IDs will be eliminated from the historical QVD records. Okay, so load it back. So right now we're just going to pretty much replacing the whole QVD file. All right. Okay. All right, 8 rows. There we go. So if I look at the QVD file here, I will see 8 rows. Okay. Okay. All right. Great. So, all right. But the way we have here, I don't like mixing. Like I said before, I don't like mixing in the code here this kind of structure, because this is not doing dashboards. This is just doing data preparation. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to remove this whole section and creating a new application, a data preparation application to handle that. So data preparation is a special kind of application in Qlik Cloud just to handle this kind of situation. So where we're just preparing data. But we will still have to reload this application in this process because of the we need to keep these things synchronized. So we have to reload this application in the center, in the core of this application. So this is what I'm going to do now. So go here, copy this, and I'm going to create a new data preparation. It's called script. Okay. So this will call playground and write back data. Okay. I'll put the script. Okay. Actually, film WB. Okay. Same space, create. Since we have the code, I'll just go here to the editor, create a new section, paste. Okay. So since this is data preparation or script application, I don't need to do the drop table because it drops at the end. You don't need to add special stuff like do not do the indexes because it automatically is configured to optimize this process. But I would just keep the code as it is. If I load the code here, I'm expecting to see the same results. Okay. So it'll be 8 rows at the end. All right. And then now, if I go back to my application, okay, here, I don't need this code anymore. So if I load the data, I would just load the film, right? And the load and the film right back. So you see just 2 results. But wait a minute. So what do we do with the write back? So there is a new feature that we can say that's new, where you can inject include script in the application. So we use a lot QVS in the past with QlikView, QlikSense, and Qlik Cloud. I'm a big fan of QVS files. But in this case, we can include a script instead of a QVS. So then I can go here, include my write back, next, so we can see a preview of it, finish. So then if you click here, you can see the code behind. You can actually open a new tab and see the full code, etc. Okay. So then instead of doing some sort of synchronization between those 2 applications, I would just call this application load script in between those 2 sections here. Okay. Let's reload. Let me do first a change. I'll just add 1 more record, so then we should see another one. Okay. Test 3. Okay. Save. All right. And reload. So this should keep to make sure if this is working correctly. The film WB at the end should have 9 rows, not 8, nothing else. It should have 9. Okay. So, okay. All right. And then if I go here, 9 records, all unique. Perfect. All right. All right. So you can see here. So, so that covers the incremental load technique. If we go past the 90 days, keep in mind this data set here is almost 90 days. So when you pass over the 90 days, we will not have some. We can do a small test here, actually. So let's say that after a few days and not match film ID 1 and 2. Okay, so let's say it's over 90 days, and over 90 days the records, the keys 1 and 2 didn't change it, so we have no change on that. So that means the change data set doesn't include those two records. If our logic is correct, when you load this application, we will keep 1 and 2, but you still bring the others. Okay, I will even include another one here. So just add test 4. Okay, I will change it. So what I'm expecting here, so I'm expecting to see all the 10 records, even if my changed data set, the current data change, does not include 1 and 2, because 1 and 2 is already included in the historical file. So I'm mimicking how if this incremental load is working. So let's reload it and see how it goes. What I did wrong? Not match film. The code is here. So let me, maybe some sort of bug, something maybe. Not is no and not match. Let's see. Let me reload here. Here's okay. All right, maybe it was just out of sync. Was just saving. So then let's go back here. All right, I think it was just out of sync. So good, 10 records. And okay, and then we should see 1 and 2 here. Okay, 1 and 2, perfect. So even if in our code here we're mimicking, we're not bringing the keys 1 and 2, that's fine, because the 1 and 2 is already in the QVD file, so you're not missing any record, even if the chains are old. So you're keeping the old records. All right, so this is it. So this is how you can do incremental load. If you heard about, oh, the write back, it doesn't support 90 days stored changed records, this is not a factor. You can store the data wherever you want. You can be as a QVD, Parquet file, CSV. You can do similar operations in Snowflake, Databricks, whatever you want. So you have ways to access this data. So don't be concerned about if you hear someone saying, oh, it doesn't store data over 90 days. So this is not a problem. All right. Okay. If you like this video, give a like to the video and subscribe to our channel. All right. I'll see you next time. Thank you.